Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we are back. We are here with our Friday episode. We're recording it on the Friday. And without further ado, I guess we might as well just jump right into it. We got some news to go through from around the NHL. Um, I guess we'll start off with the one thing that you have not seen, I believe, and that is the rumored trade packages that are floating around right now for both Rasmus Andersson of the Calgary Flames and for Elias Pettersson on the Vancouver Canucks, the $11+ million Elias Pettersson on the Vancouver Canucks. So I'll let you have your pick. Which one do we want to talk about first?
Yeah, because I've yet to see either one of these. Um, let's go with the player that I think is more likely to be traded, and that's Rasmus Andersson.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree with that. Um, but this is from Dave Pagnotta from Inside Sports. It sounds like for Rasmus Andersson, what the Flames are looking for is a package of a first round pick, a first round pick, a top prospect, and potentially a third lesser asset. So basically, it sounds like they're looking for a first round pick and an A level prospect, or a B plus prospect, and then an NHL player. Basically, is what it sounds like to me.
Okay.
He's
Um,
a right-handed defenseman. If the Flames retain on him, which I can't imagine they won't, there's basically no team in the league that can't afford this player by cap hit. Like,
mhm,
if he's 50% retained, as long as there's an NHL player coming back, the salaries can work for almost any team.
can work.
Uh,
Absolutely, yeah.
there's not a lot of teams that shouldn't be at least kicking tires on this guy. Like,
What I will say is, if that is the asking price, we'll go with the first and an A level prospect, whatever
yeah,
people want to say is an A level prospect. Um, no team is paying that for Anderson if he's not coming with an extension.
yeah,
Like knowing that he's going to immediately be traded there and sign an extension, or he signs it with Calgary and then is traded there. No team will pay that for him to
a
walk.
pure rental. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and I think that's a fair asking price if he's coming with a extension. Uh, what would an extension look like for Anderson? Tough to say exactly where he ends up, right? Um, yeah, I think overall that's a fair offer or a fair asking price.
yeah.
Do they necessarily get that in the end? Probably not. It probably
It
ends up
feels
being the
slightly high,
it
which
ends up being the first the B level prospect, and whatever the third piece would be. I think is probably what the deal would end up being.
more than likely, yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's tough to
it's
think of what teams are competing that need a Rasmus Anderson that have their own first or have a first in general and a good enough prospect to be in that A level.
yeah. And I think it's one of those cases where the asking price seems a little bit high, which kind of makes me lean towards this is real and like not just rumors because, you know, what team is putting the genuine asking price out there too often? You know, you always in negotiating, you set the bar a little bit higher so that when it
Mhm.
comes down, you're kind of at what you wanted. And
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think that whoever gets this deal done, unless it's a hyper competitive team right now, like a Colorado or something, I think this is coming with an extension. And
Yeah.
once you have that in play, uh, it could be it could still be an 8-year extension at this point. The rest of this year, that means you could have Rasmus Anderson for 9 years, like 8.5 years. And that's without thinking
Yeah.
about what happens with his contract after that. He's only what, 27, 28 right now?
I think
Like,
29.
so, it goes from being all these competitive win now teams looking for him to, you know, d- a, I'm not necessarily saying they will or anything, but a team like the Sharks, a team like the Ducks, the Blackhawks, like he that could fit their timeline. He's not going to be the same age as the majority of the core coming through, but he could be a piece in a rebuilding team, kind of really kickstarting that as well. So there's not a
Hmm.
lot of teams like you know Vancouver, Pittsburgh, the Rangers are probably out on him, but like it's probably five or less teams that don't need to look at all. Like
Yeah,
everyone else has at least a
hundred
bit of a
percent.
reason.
And the biggest thing will come down to Anderson signing the extension, right? There was the rumors over the offseason that the LA Kings were offering a pretty big haul for Rasmus Anderson, exactly what Calgary was looking for at that time. Is it, you know, their asking price now? I don't know, but it was enough for Calgary to be ready to do the deal. But Anderson didn't want to go to LA. He wasn't going to sign an extension, so the deal never really happened. And then
That's
the
kind of
rumors come
crazy,
out
right?
that he only wants to go to Vegas. Is that still the case? I don't know. Furthermore, can Vegas even afford an Anderson extension? Honestly, probably they could find a way, but
I'm sure they could
realistically,
find a way,
no.
but
Um, so yeah, it makes you wonder, because again, it kind of comes down to where's Anderson willing to resign? And there's going to be a team out there. Obviously, he's not just going to you know, not play in the NHL because there's a team he wants to go to or multiple. We just don't know that yet.
yeah.
And we won't know probably until he's finally traded. And I'm assuming it'll be with an extension and then we'll know okay, this is at least a team that he was happy or comfortable going to.
Yeah. No, 100%. And that is kind of crazy hearing that, for the longest time, it was like LA is like such a destination. Like guys would love to go there. And here's a Calgary Flames player. He's playing in Calgary. Like it's got to be one of the least desirable markets for most NHL players to play in. And he's saying, no, don't send me to LA. Like that's I don't know if it's a city thing. I don't know if it's a coaching thing or what, but
I
it's very
think more than
interesting that that
anything
was
for a guy
a
like
no for him.
Rasmus Anderson, it's he wants to win. And again, like I said,
That's fair.
I said last year at the trade deadline, last year was, the year for the LA Kings to go all in.
Yeah.
If they didn't win a cup, it was very clear that the window is kind of closed, right? And that's even more apparent now looking at the team this season and knowing, Kopitar's gone after this
They're not
year
doing great, and
and
Kopitar's done after this year. Like,
you
there's
you
no
don't
shot they're
have a
getting better.
replacement and you don't have a replacement for Kopitar. So that's a big hole on your team that's now.
I would
How
love
do
to
you fill
see if
that? Because you
if
can't fill it
Byfield
through free
could be.
agency.
I'd love to see
The
within a
potential for
new coach.
Byfield is there, but we haven't even seen it where we in a consistent base where we're like, okay, this can be a reality. So could it? Absolutely. Do we
Yeah,
have any proof of it? We have none.
there's
And
just enough that I still think it's there, but it can't happen with this coach.
it's
They
it's
still have
it's
Jim
there,
Miller.
but you know, it's it, it's a 50-50 really, and that's a big gamble when you've already traded out Philip Deneau. You can't fill that hole in free agency. So even if Byfield moves to your 1C and can replace Kopitar,
Who's
who's
next?
who's who's the
Yeah,
next man up thing, right? And that's a thing when you look at teams like Vegas, like Tampa, like Florida, even Washington to an extent last year. That next man up, if someone's gone or goes down, someone comes up and fills that spot. LA doesn't really have that luxury,
yeah,
and so I think that was the biggest thing for Anderson is why would I, LA's a great spot to go and be, obviously, but if you're a player who wants to win, you're probably not getting that chance in LA.
yeah, yeah. And I'd love to know what the Flames were offered that couldn't go through because
Yeah,
of that. Because like if it was like a first and Brant Clark, oh, that sucks.
no
If
way that
Rat
would have
if
been
at
offered.
like if it's
No
something like
way.
that, it would be brutal for the guy to to veto that because that set Calgary up nice. Obviously, they already have a
Just
lot of
throwing it out
defensemen,
there.
but
If I was LA, I wouldn't trade Brant Clark for Rasmus Andersson 1-for-1 even.
no, but they also let Gavrikov walk for free, so who knows how much they
Well,
value their guys.
he didn't want to be there anymore, as far as I know, and I don't blame him. I mean,
Yeah,
again, you can kind of see that the LA Kings were slowly becoming a sinking ship, and do you sign on to go down with the ship, or do you say I got to get out of there and go to the LA Kings of the East? Go to New York, go to the Rangers, and I mean that both in terms of the city itself and the state of the team, because we'll get into the
state of the team,
Rangers in a bit.
they
Um,
almost look more like the Vancouver Canucks
yeah, it's
of the
getting there.
East, right down to having Captain Miller on your team. Um,
Speaking of Vancouver, though,
yeah,
there's
Elias
another
Pettersson
player here.
is the other big one that people are talking about. For Rasmus Anderson as well, I do believe Vegas and Dallas are the two leading
Dallas was a
teams
great spot for him.
that people are thinking of. I've also heard quite a few rumors about Boston, which I thought was interesting because just a team that they're just not going to commit to a rebuild and it's just going to work out for them. You can just tell. It's the
Yeah,
Boston Bruins. They're going to find a way to find a couple gems and just get right back to it.
yeah.
Um, But as far as Elise Pettersson goes, it looks like they are looking for three quality pieces coming back to Vancouver. They're looking for a first round pick, a top two. He has it here. He says a top two center capable of playing in either role. I'm assuming that means like a top six center, like a first or second line center. And then another big asset. Uh, is all the context on that third piece. So a first, a top six center, and another big asset. Uh, Whether
See,
that's
and
another
that's
first, a good prospect,
mhm.
but
And
it's
that's
looking
the
to be a
thing,
lot.
right? When you think about it, the only team that really kind of makes sense that could pull this off is the team that everybody goes to is the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah,
It's hard to find many teams out there that
have
it
those
makes
pieces.
sense for them to pull the trigger on a deal like this and have the cap space to make work and have the assets. Carolina's like the only one. And, you know, Kotkaniemi's going to be a part of that deal if it happens.
Yeah,
That's the top six center. Is he a top six center? No, but he's got to go so to make the money work. And they've got no shortage of prospects. They got a bunch of picks. They have picks from Dallas and the Rantanen deal. Carolina has all the assets to make the deal work. And again, in my opinion, they're like the only team that makes sense.
there's not a
Again,
lot of
like
teams that can fit this player in,
yeah,
uh, and need a guy like that as well. And
a team like Buffalo
yeah,
maybe makes sense. But again, if I'm Buffalo, why?
you're
The vibes are the best
finally
they've been in
yeah.
20 years there, and why would you risk it?
Yeah.
That
The
that
last
could
thing you need to
derail
do
your
is
entire franchise. Like,
that would be such an unforced error that it's just they're not a team that needs to take the risk on a guy like Pettersson. Like
yeah,
a team like Carolina that pencil him in for the playoffs, pencil him in for first, maybe second in the Metro every season in the last like nine. Like
yeah.
they're always making the playoffs, usually out of the first round, sometimes out of the second round, but they haven't seen the Stanley Cup final since what, '06? Like,
Yeah, since they won.
so they're a team that one of the few teams that kind of needs to go for a big superstar. And we've seen them go for it the last few years now. Like
Yeah.
they have to do something to get over the hump. And
Because again, I
it's
do think Carolina is a good team, like a very good team.
yeah,
But what they have right now, it's not enough to win them a cup. It's not enough to, if they have to go up against Florida, I'm not picking Carolina over Florida. I'm just not. I'm
yeah,
not picking Carolina over Tampa.
yeah,
Assuming that's probably going to be the team they would go up against if they may even make it to the Eastern Conference Final. And then even if they somehow do, whoever comes out of the West, I whether that's Colorado, Dallas, or Minnesota, pretty much, I wouldn't take them. But Elias Pettersson, and out of Vancouver, if he can get back to his old form, now we're talking. Now we're talking about
And
a team that
that's
could
the
be a
big thing,
real
isn't it?
cup contender. And it's a big risk for Carolina, but the alternative is you don't do anything and you're a second round exit again. Or you make
Yeah.
it to Eastern Conference final and you probably get swept.
Well, and part of it would also be for them that Elias Pettersson, he's making 11.6 million for the next several years.
Yeesh. Yeah.
So you're obviously taking on a big cap hit because I don't think the Canucks are going to want to retain on that.
No.
But how much freaking cap space do they have? Where are they on cap wages?
Carolina, they're down near the bottom. Like they got like 8
They're
mil
between
open.
Columbus and Calgary. How does a
Yeah.
competitive team have that much cap space? Good lord.
Because they look at the contracts they've given out. Like everybody's so underpaid.
They're so
They don't
good.
have an
And
overpaid player on their team, I don't think, at this point now.
I would still say Kotkaniemi is probably overpaid, but it's not.
But he would be going to
He would
Vancouver.
be going the other way. And even
Yeah.
right now, it's not a boat anchor. It's not horrendous.
It's not a boat anchor,
good.
but it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's bad. But that would be going the other way, which kind of makes the Pettersson money kind of built in. Like Kotkaniemi's making just under 5 mil a season for a long time as well. So with that going the other way, it's already like you can kind of, protect. It requires a little bit of you covering your eyes, but it kind of makes it like Pettersson's only going to be costing 6.5, 7 mil on the cap because you're getting this free 4.8 mil back instead of that guy playing what is he doing? Fourth line center right now? Because I'm pretty sure Jordan Staal is still their third line center. Like Kotkaniemi's probably playing, maybe he's getting penalty kill or power play 2 time, but I'm pretty sure he's on the
Not
fourth line.
much.
So
Let's look it up here.
yeah,
Good
I
old
think
daily face-off will let us know. Kotkaniemi, is he injured?
I am not seeing any injury thing beside him at the moment.
He's they don't even have him in the lineup right now.
He might. I mean, if a trade's imminent, maybe they're healthy scratching him.
I think looks like he's a healthy scratch
it
right
would
now.
It would be even harder to move him if he got injured on top of that contract. So I can see the thought process there, but yeah, they'd have to move out some money, but I don't think that would be too much of an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think it's a fair asking price. Again, does Vancouver necessarily get that? Tough to say. Thankfully for them, it's not contingent on Pettersson signing an extension wherever he goes, right? Like he's already signed and locked in. And again, Carolina makes the most sense. If there's not a big, bidding war, if there's not a big market of teams going after a guy like Elias Pettersson, the value probably comes down a bit. And
they're the only trade partner.
But again, I think if you're Vancouver, I've been saying I think you do need to find a way to make a deal happen and just wipe your hands clean and fully dive into your rebuild, your retool, because it can be difficult when you've got a lot of young guys coming onto the team, a lot of guys trying to find their way in the league, and when they want to start getting paid, it can be pretty tough when you've got a guy like Elias Pettersson who, I don't know this for sure, but just from what reports have come out and said, his effort level is not quite there. It can be pretty tough then, and with the young players there, and especially with the contracts they're going to be given out. Like, I think at the end of the day, Vancouver just needs to wipe their hands clean and say everything went to shit. Here's the rebuild, and you build up a new core.
I don't doubt that he's going to be a 90 to 100 point player and a two-way beast right after he gets traded.
Absolutely.
Like, honestly, I don't even think, I think a lot of the reports where people say it's effort, I think it's really easy from the outside to look at somebody and say there's a lack of effort. I think it's just one of those situations where it's just so much more complicated. Humans are so complicated. There's, we see what goes on the ice. Even if you're one of the insiders, you see what goes on at practice. You're seeing like 0.5% of this guy's life, right? There's so much going
Mhm.
on. And above all, these guys are so competitive. They want to win. And this
Yeah.
team, you've got whatever went on with Miller and whatever went on with the coaches and the media's coming after them. And it's just so much turmoil going on in that locker room. I
I completely agree with everything you're saying, but I will also say, and I will stand on this, because I agree with you. Elias Pettersson traded probably is a 90 to 100 point guy,
and
elite two-way player. If
the Canucks
Vancouver
have said
trades
they
Elias,
expect that. They
yeah,
actually said when they announced what the trade package uh what they'd like it to be, they did say we expect him. And I mean, you don't want to say out loud you're selling damaged goods, right? So of course they're going to say
mhm,
it, but they did say we fully expect him to be a 100-point Selkie candidate with somebody else,
yeah,
but this is just the direction we have to go, which makes sense. They're going into a
yeah,
rebuild.
and
I mean, you
and,
already
and I'll
traded
stand
Hughes.
on this take that if Vancouver, they trade Elias Pettersson to the Carolina Hurricanes for a seventh round pick, just a 1/7 round pick. Elias Pettersson goes on, great two-way player, 90 to 100 point guy. I still wouldn't even say, you know, oh, Vancouver lost that trade. That hurt them because at the end of the day, they just need to wipe the slate clean. They need to move on from Pettersson. They need to fully dive into this rebuild. At least Pettersson being
Yeah,
there only hurts a rebuild. He does not help a rebuild in any way possible. And again, I still think he's a very good player, but it's not going to work in Vancouver.
yeah.
He doesn't fit the direction the team needs to go in. And quite frankly, Brock Besser as well, if they can find a deal to trade Brock Besser, because again, they need to just fully do
That's
what
so brutal
Chicago
for
did,
Besser.
what San Jose did.
He
You got to
wanted to
rip
go
the
back to
band-aid off.
Vancouver, and
And yeah,
less than a calendar year later, the team is a shell of what it was even last offseason.
they
Like,
just need to rip the band-aid off and get it
yeah,
done and over with so you can start building, you know. And it'd be a great way to kick off rebuild if
yeah.
they get a first or second overall pick because again, whether you're picking first or second, the thing is if you're picking first, you get to choose which player you want. If you're picking second, you're getting an elite level player that's
The
just going to be
top
handed to you.
the top
You don't
three
get to pick the
players look
player,
insane.
but you're getting one either way, and that'd be a
Finishing
great way
last should
for
be the goal.
Vancouver to start. Absolutely, yeah.
Like,
Because then you're
even if
guaranteed a
they
top three.
I was gonna say, even if they lose both of them and you only get top 3, that's fine. Knowing you have, at worst, a top 3 pick in this draft, like, those top
Yeah,
3 really have separated from the crowd, and you're either getting uh, absolutely insane looking defenseman, a borderline generational winger, or Ivar Stenberg.
yeah,
It looks so good no matter which one you end up getting. Even if
and
you're
that is
third and you have
the
to take the
direction.
leftover, that's so
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, and if
And
I'm Vancouver, that's absolutely the direction they should be going in. And again, it starts with moving off Elias Pettersson.
yeah, I would say I mean, I definitely agree with the sentiment you're going for, but I would disagree that, I would see it as a win for them if they took a seventh,
No,
because
I'm
we
not
both
saying
know they
it's a
could get
win
a
for them,
first.
but I'm not. But I'm saying, say
I
Carolina's
would
the
say
only
I
team
would
that
say
wants
that's a
him.
loss because they could clearly, if they went to Carolina and say a first for Pettersson, they're taking it all day, right?
Yeah, but if the thing is, you either get a seventh or you hold Elias Pettersson for the remainder of his contract, type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Then that hurts Vancouver to hold on to him.
yeah,
Because then the day I'm saying they need to move on from him. And if
yeah,
Carolina is the only team,
yeah.
again that could depend on what the return is.
Well,
Vancouver probably doesn't get as
Carolina's the
much
only team
because
with this rumored return. If you only needed to beat a seventh rounder, I'm sure other teams would be in.
yeah, no,
But it would be
no,
interesting.
I'm saying just that
Yeah,
if Carolina is the only team that wants him, I'm not saying that it's only going to be a seven, but Vancouver probably doesn't get the desired return that they
yeah,
want. As
yeah,
opposed to
yeah.
if there's a couple teams, then you get a bidding war going, and then
Maybe it's a bit higher.
you take the best offer, kind of like what they did with Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
Speaking of Quinn Hughes, actually, we don't have it in here, but we should talk about the rumors out of Detroit. of Steve Yzerman that Quinn Hughes wanted to, because and I will give Vancouver a lot of
I don't
credit
think I've heard of this.
because Quinn Hughes was talking. They basically treated it like Quinn Hughes had a full no movement clause, and he had nothing. He had no modified no trade clause. It wasn't a no trade, like it was nothing. They could trade him anywhere,
Yeah,
and Vancouver
he
still
could have gone to
treated it
Buffalo.
like he had a no movement. And I think that does actually speak pretty well of Vancouver, and that has a lot of pull when you're going to be a rebuilding team. Uh, Chicago and San Jose, and even actually not really Anaheim, but Chicago and San Jose
So
are
Quinn
perfect
Hughes
examples
didn't
of
want
it.
to go there, basically,
To where?
to Detroit.
No, he wanted to. That was his number one spot.
Oh, okay.
He actively was like, yeah, I want to go to Detroit. If you can make it happen, make it happen. And Detroit clearly had the pieces to make it work. But Yzerman was not willing to give up that much for Quinn Hughes, unsure of if he will extend in the offseason. And that's got a lot of
I can see
people
that, but
talking about it. And I can see both sides to it.
if you're
But I
his
want to know
number
what
one
your.
destination, there's a pretty good chance he's gonna resign.
Yep,
Your
that
team's
was
not even
exactly my thought.
like if you're, the teams, etc. It's so annoying listing them every time, but Dallas, Vegas, Florida, Tampa, Colorado. If you're one of these desirable win now teams, like those teams don't have to worry about does this guy is he going to want to resign? You worry about do we have the money to make it work?
Yeah,
You know the player wants to stay. They all do.
yeah,
Um the Red Wings are good and getting better. An original 6 team. Man, if a player hand picks you over all of those other desirable markets and teams, like he probably would resign unless he's really
yeah.
doing some big galaxy brain shit where he's trying to end up in New Jersey or something. Like I don't even know what the thought process would be behind that. And I mean, what Vancouver ended up getting, obviously, it's a steep price, so I can see that there. But it's Quinn Hughes, man, and that's exactly what that franchise needs,
It's
man.
exactly what they need. And you put him alongside Cider.
Fuck, that's a sick pairing. There's nothing those two don't do.
Yeah.
Like Quinn Hughes is
Yeah,
already
it's
great defensively, but Sider's so good defensively. He hits everything. He blocks. Like the only thing he doesn't do is quarterback a number one power play the way a Quinn Hughes does. He can do it decently. He'd still be on power play too, but oh, like Sandy Pellica looks like he's going to be good, but like I'll kick your ass out the door myself for Quinn Hughes.
yeah, exactly.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's
steep.
again, not a whole lot to say on it, but yeah, makes you wonder how different this Detroit team would be if they pulled the trigger on it, and especially again, like we talked about, it's you can make a move for Quinn Hughes in Detroit who wants to get back in the playoffs, go on a run, probably save Yzerman's job by making the playoffs. And again, Quinn Hughes probably extends because that's where he wanted to go to. And if he doesn't, again, you can trade him. He has no trade protection. You can ship
Yeah.
him off anywhere and get a haul back, or you can do a 1-for-1 and you just get another great player back or whatever. Like there were so many things that they could have done, and um, yeah, it's a big miss for Detroit there.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. I so badly want it to work out for Steve UI in Detroit, but it's you gotta make those moves. You gotta make those big moves to really improve in this league in this day and age. Like in the past,
Yeah,
I don't know, 6 or 7 years, it feels like it jump started so aggressively on like teams before when they'd buy at the deadline, it was we'll add a third line guy and maybe a defenseman somewhere in there. And like that's our big trade deadline acquisition. Now
yeah,
that's what fringe playoff teams are doing. The top teams, they're going out there and trading for freaking Mikko Rantanens and shit. Like everyone lost their mind in the focus of winning. And a lot of those teams don't suffer for it that badly. Not as badly as
Yeah.
they would have made you think it once upon a time. So
Yeah.
guys got to be a little
Yeah,
more
it's
cutthroat. Same thing that's going on in New
absolutely.
Jersey.
Absolutely. Um, but we can move on. Where do you want to go to next? We got a couple things here still.
Oh, where do we want to go with this? Let's talk about the Blue Jackets for a minute. Uh, the Blue Jackets. We mentioned it last episode. They brought in Rick Bowness and fired Dean Evison as their head coach. Rick Bowness, who, my God, does it look like he's having fun? Like, just seeing him behind the
Yeah.
bench when they get their first win. It's been a bit since I've seen a coach that animated. I know he said in a interview after the game, he said this is a hell of a lot better than being on my boat because he was retired before coming back to coach his team. Um, he picked up his first win as a coach of the Blue Jackets, 5-3 over the Flames the other night. Um, and where is it here? I actually have they interviewed because Merzlikins was the goalie in that game, and they interviewed, or I don't know if it's that game or another game, but the
I
other
think
night,
another one because I think
yeah,
Greaves played against the Flames.
yeah, Merzlikins, I think it was last night in their game, was the goalie, and he was getting interviewed, and the guy said 3 wins in a row, 2 of them at home, a new coach. What's different? And Merzlikins looks at this guy like he's an idiot, and he goes, "New coach." You just said it to me. New coach. What's different? New coach. He seemed pretty. The way he said it, he seemed happy with the new coach, but also a little. It's a little dig there at Dean Evison, which Merzlikins obviously uh, has had quite a few issues with the management and the expectations for him on ice play, everything. So it's yeah, makes you wonder how much Dean Evison was really on his ass. Maybe he feels a lot freer, and maybe his play will get better from here.
Yeah, it's tough to say. Obviously, I've never been as high on Merzlikins as majority of people. Um, but yeah, I think again, like we said in the last episode, it's not like Dean Evson's a bad coach, but Columbus needed to move in a different direction. They couldn't just sit where they were and
Yeah,
continue to let the season kind of dwindle away for them. They had to make a move, and I think it's a great move, and already looking off to a good start for them. And we'll see what they continue to keep doing.
I was actually looking around. I was on the Columbus Blue Jackets subreddit. I was doing a little bit of research on this one because I wanted to know what the Blue Jackets fans thought about this, and it sounds like it's such a huge vibes change, just with the coaches' personalities. It sounds like not a lot of them like dislike Dean Evison, but
Hmm.
a lot of them sounded like they think something's going on in his personal life that's getting in the way of his coaching. It sounds like the coach that they got last season compared to this season is like an entirely different guy, according to them. It sounds like he was that guy. He was very animated. He was very excited for the team last year. And this year, it sounds like they're like he's going through the motions. Apparently, he was their power play coach as well. And then he delegated that at some point to a guy who hadn't done that before. Like he started doing less involved with the team. And
Hmm.
it just sounds like it was just not working for him for whatever reason. And they got good
Yeah.
vibes with Bonus coming out of retirement for this team. So it definitely sounded like a lot of people, Blue Jackets fans were like, Dean Evison isn't really a bad coach, but he stopped being himself between this and last season,
Yeah.
which, you know, no, you don't usually hear stuff like that. Usually you hear the coach has lost the room, they just don't have it anymore, or it doesn't work with this
Yeah.
team's fit. So hearing that, I was a little surprised. Just that's
No.
not what I
Yeah.
expected, but yeah,
Absolutely.
we'll see if he finds work
Um.
somewhere else.
Yeah. Just to throw it out there before we dive into our next thing. Again, this isn't confirmed. It is still kind of rumors, but player we just talking about, Rasmus Anderson. It does sound like the talk, kind of trade talks and things surrounding him are starting to heat up a bit. So rumors are kind of saying let's wait and see what happens over the next 24 to 48 hours. Again, nothing's confirmed, but it does sound like trade talks are potentially heating up right now.
It does
And
sound like they're trying to do it before the Olympic
before
break.
the Olympics, yeah, they're trying to get it done before then, and then you don't have to worry about because that's what a lot of teams were and GM's worried about is kind of with some guys going into four nations is if they get injured, we San Jose they traded Granlund like a week or two before the four nations because they didn't want to run the risk of an injury in that, and especially when guys are giving it, they're all playing for their country, and then that's an asset that is now worth nothing potentially. So it makes sense that the Flames want to get it done before the Olympics. All sense in the world, and
Yeah.
we'll see what happens here. And again, I wouldn't be entirely shocked if it does end up, an extension. Is it likely? Probably not, but I wouldn't be shocked by it
I think
if they.
the team he goes to at least needs to be open to it for the most part.
Oh no, if he's traded, it's 100% with an extension. But I'm saying if the potential for him to extend in Calgary, I don't think the door is
Oh, in
fully closed
Calgary.
on that. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
think the door is fully closed on it. I think it's pretty much, but it's. I don't think it's a for sure that he's not going to be extending there.
Yeah.
Still on the unlikely
On
side,
the
but
idea that I've been pretty hard for the last year and a bit that I think he should extend it with Calgary, and I think it's a good fit for him here and stuff. But I think now the way it sounds, yeah, it's definitely leaning a good bit more than it was, but even before to
yeah,
him being out the door and finding somewhere else. So
yeah.
we'll see what happens. But you just know it's going to be Vegas too. They're going to find a way. They're going to find the cap room.
The problem is still with Vegas is now finally the assets. They really don't have much, and their first round pick this year already belongs to Calgary. So Vegas really doesn't have a whole lot to give up at this point. I think that's why they're relatively quiet around the deadline last year, is because they
Yeah.
just don't have much now. They've kind of spent everything that they had.
Yeah. I mean, they could bring in Erasmus Andersson, but like you gotta, if you don't have prospects and stuff to send back, that means you're losing good roster players. And if you're losing good roster players, as good as Anderson is, how much better is your team getting? Like if the big part of the return is a Pavel Dorofeyev or something like that, like is your team even getting better by getting
Yeah, it
Rasmus
does.
Anderson?
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly right. So I don't think he goes to Vegas just because I don't think they really have what Calgary's looking for based on that asking price. But again, we'll keep tabs on it over the next over the weekend, and we'll see. Maybe there will be a special YouTube video that will come out if there's a big deal or something.
yeah,
Um, we can move on from Blue Jackets, Flames, kind of all tied into one there. Other news here, pretty quick. Not much to say on it other than congrats, but the Boston Bruins officially retire Zdeno Chara's number 33. It was pretty cool. His two sons got to be the ones to raise the banner up into the rafters. So I thought that was a pretty cool moment for them, and
yeah.
just a great night overall for Bruins fans. Um, you know,
How'd the jersey look? Was it wrinkly? Did they iron this one?
theirs was pretty cool. It's a circle. It's not
Ooh,
a
okay.
traditional banner. Yeah, it was a circle. Kind of similar to the Boston logo, just the big
I was
old
gonna say,
circle.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was it was awesome. Essentially,
They
um,
do right by their players there for sure.
yeah, they always have, and
Yeah,
you can just see how much Char means to that fan base, that organization, and rightfully so. Um, but again, yeah, not much
I'm
to
just
say
gonna
other
throw it
than
out there. Is
congrats.
he the most iconic Bruin?
No,
Is it it's probably Bobby Orr, right? But
yeah,
like
Char is up there,
I will say it's a
but
little bit of a conversation. I think it's Bobby Orr. I think Chara's above Ray Bork, and I think that's crazy. But I think And, part of it is the novelty of he's fucking huge. He's a
That
giant.
so the
But
reason I can kind of
that
get on
God, if
board.
that's not Boston Bruin, a guy who's 6'9" and just beating the crap out of your spine with a piece of wood. If that
I
doesn't scream Boston Bruin, what does?
I would almost kind of agree with you on the Ray Bork thing, just because now when everybody thinks of Ray Bork, it's the iconic video of the cup getting passed off to him, and the Raymond
Yeah,
Bork, the Stanley Cup champion like that. So
22
I can
years.
kind of, but like Bobby Orr day, it's always Bobby Orr. He's we did our Mount Rushmore video, and we literally
Yeah.
said Bobby Orr's on our Mount Rushmore. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. And I don't, and
I didn't
obviously we're
put
not,
Chara on
yeah, I was
on
going to say,
there.
obviously we're not arguing that was a better player than Bobby Orr, but as far as
Ray
iconic
Bork,
players, like,
yeah,
or yeah, I'm not arguing that he's better than either of them. Um,
yeah. Well,
but
you're just talking about more iconic to the Boston franchise. Yeah, I get what you're
yeah,
saying though.
but yeah, good for him, good for Boston, and I guess we can go into talking about another Original Six franchise while we're at it. The New York Rangers, dropping to last in the Eastern Conference, which, despite being last in the entire conference, only 10 points out of a playoff spot. So not looking good, but not on the overall unsalvageable. They've allowed 30 goals against in their last 5 games. They let in 10 against the Bruins, 8 against the Sens. I mean, that's 18 in 2 games. And then I think it was just like 5, 4, and 3 in their other 3 games. But I mean, sure, Shesterkin, their all-star goalie, highest paid goalie in the NHL right now, and I think in NHL history, on a single contract. But
Hmm.
he's on LTIR, injured right now. But even still, that's rough. That's rough for a team with what should be a relatively good blue line. Uh,
Yeah,
Quite a few defensive forwards as well. You know, your captain JT Miller has been in the past in that Selkie conversation. Like,
yeah. This is good. This is
they're getting pumped, dude.
again. I'm not going to get off track here. Again, I'm going to bring it right back because there's a couple news circulating right now. So the first one is Detroit and Boston are both pushing really hard for Rasmus Andersson. Uh,
Okay.
as of right now, Anderson, it doesn't sound like he wants to sign an extension with Boston, so it kind of sounds like Boston's kind of out of the running. Um, but again, things can definitely change. We'll see. And secondly, the New York Rangers, they just put out a press release from General Manager Chris Drury. They are not rebuilding, but they are retooling.
Oh,
They've
good.
declared they are entering another retool.
Oh, fans
So
love to hear that.
we'll see what ends up happening with that.
Well, at least they
Um,
have a good track record of drafting players when they get those high picks.
and developing.
Yeah, Lafreniere and Kako was running the league.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the New York Rangers are just in a awful spot. I don't know. I was kind of reading the press release to confirm what it was saying. Yeah, 10 points out of a playoff spot, looking like absolute dog shit. Um, yeah, and I mean, you can't. We talked about 'em last night. You can't enter rebuild if you have Adam Fox and Igor Shesterkin, and you don't trade those guys because of how valuable they are and what they bring for your franchise. So the logical thing for them to do is a retool. And I
Yeah,
think you've got lots of pieces that can be moved out, whether that be for draft picks, for prospects, for just younger, already established players. The Rangers have a lot of options, and
if they make good trades, they can turn it around quick. But they need to
they
make those good
def.
trades.
Then that's the thing, and they don't have the best history of that. They don't really have a good history of anything. Let's be real. Like they really don't. What have they done good over the last few years?
If they do win in the playoffs, the crowd is going crazy. It's a fun atmosphere. Like that's really some of the best you got.
Like
Like it.
yeah, that's really it. They really haven't done anything good, and a lot of it does come down to management. Like Chris Drury sucks at his job.
Yeah, lot of
He's
fire
he's
Drury
really
chants
just
over the past
awful.
several games at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
So again, like not a lot, Sam, but I'm just curious to see what they do now that they've kind of officially waved the white flag on the season, and uh, we'll see what they can move out, what they can bring back in, and kind of how are they looking to retool this team? What kind of identity are they trying to build? Because they have to decide that kind of in this moment and going forward.
yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, clearly, it starts with you got to trade Panarin. UFA at the end of this season, retain half on him. Now somebody can get him for under 6 mil. Find a team that wants him. Go to the highest bidder. Um, just a couple of their older guys. Zibanejad, Miller, and Vincent Trocheck are all 32. They're not gonna get any better. If you don't think they're on the decline, fine, but they're not gonna get better than what they are. And
Yeah,
uh
their value is not going to increase, I don't think. Well, I mean, I guess
yeah.
potentially could if they start playing well, but you do need. I know those are some of the guys you probably look to move on from.
Yeah.
It, like you said, definitely does help that they do have Panarin, who was on the last year, so you can move him and probably get a decent return for him from the right team, and that's what will kind of similar to Vancouver, although Vancouver's rebuilding, but moving out Quinn Hughes, getting a massive package back, and that's what you're kind of building around going forward. And that's probably
Yeah.
what it'll be for the Rangers is what you get back for Panarin is what you will be building your team around going forward. Whatever
Yeah.
that may be, I don't know what is Panarin's value. If he's probably 50% retained, if the Rangers are willing to do it, I don't know. But
He's up there in scoring this year. Like he's still putting up a lot of points on a bad team. I imagine it would be decent, especially if it's to a team that, they could negotiate to have a 2-year extension or something
but
on
it's
top of
tough
it.
trying to think of like what team can make it work that has the assets. Right? Like I threw it out
Yeah.
before the season even started. I think one of my bold predictions was just Panarin gets traded. But
Yeah.
on top of that, I put to Minnesota.
I think you put
That's
Minnesota.
not happening now. Um, Colorado, that's not happening. They don't have the assets to make it work. I don't think. Dallas, I don't think they do. Like you're kind of looking at some of the top teams, and it's like, fuck, who has enough at this that they can even give up enough to get him?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And that's
tough.
where
You got to
you're kind of looking at some teams, and maybe a Carolina, maybe there's going to be a team that's going to get him, I think, for a pretty decent cost, actually, because there's not enough teams that have the assets to even give up.
yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to say the least on what ends up happening with him. At least with him it's like we have some assurance that surely he gets traded. Like what are they
Yeah.
is Panarin re-signing there at 35? Like
After they just declared for retool, no. And
like no
it does
shot.
no
And
good for a retool to let him walk.
exactly. Like
On top of
there's
that.
zero reason for it. So it's at least we know what's going to happen there, but I don't have faith in this front office to move on from Zibanejad, Trocheck. I
I
don't
don't know
know
how you
what
can
they'll do
move
with
on
with
from
Miller.
Zibanejad. I feel like that's a contract you almost just kind of have to sit on unless you're paying a Chicago or something to take it.
8.5 million for another 5 seasons till he's 37. I don't think they expected him to be dropping off by the time he's 32. That's
And I
pretty.
think Zibanejad could be a good player outside of the Rangers, but they've kind of destroyed that locker room in that like the players have no trust in management when a guy like
Yeah,
Barclay Goodrow actively takes, and I mean, he still got overpaid at the time, but he even took less money to get a no trade with the Rangers. And what do the Rangers do? They say, "Oh, we'll work around it. We're not going to respect you. We're going to put you on waivers." And now you get claimed by the worst team in the league at the time, the Sharks. They ran Jacob Trouba out of there and kind of forced him to accept a trade to go to Anaheim. They just dumped Chris Kreider
Chris
off the moment they
Kreider.
had when he's been their franchise leader in their front guy for the last however many years. I think it rubbed a lot of the players the wrong way. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of players that are struggling there, as soon as they get out of there and they get in a fresh environment, are going to be way better. Like I think the
Like,
Rangers just actively ruined everything they had there, and that's why they're going into a retool.
yeah. Well, so many of those guys were so glue for that locker room. Like, I mean, Trouba was their captain. Kreider, I thought was going to be the captain before Trouba was announced as the captain. Like, those are two massive guys for that locker room. And the fact that not only are they shipped out, but so and unceremoniously, but then they bring in Miller and immediately make him captain. Like, yeah, sure, you other guys have been here for a while, but we just got JT Miller, so we're throwing
And
the
that's
C
kind
on
of when
him.
I knew that
Like, even if they do like him in the
Kreider was
locker room,
gone.
that's kind of like really rough to bring in a guy and just immediately make him captain. Like, if you bring in a Quinn Hughes type guy and immediately make him captain, it doesn't look too bad. JT Miller's not that. He's not that level of player. He in his prime, he was incredible. But even in his prime, he wasn't bring in and this guy gets to be captain right away thing. So like it's
Yeah. So one thing I guess a couple things is again, a lot of people say, oh, the one thing I won't agree with people is that they gave JT Miller the captaincy after being like, oh, look at everything that he did in Vancouver and all that. And it's like, you know what? We don't know the full story in Vancouver. Furthermore, there's multiple different things. It's not fully on JT Miller. So I'm not going to say like, how
yeah,
can you give him the captaincy after that? Because that's a different team, different organization, has nothing to do with the Rangers.
yeah.
Absolutely nothing. But I agree to immediately bring him in and just give him the captaincy when you could have even at least waited a little bit. Um, it just
That's the
felt very
biggest thing.
forced the way they kind of did it. Like they kind
He
of
hadn't
traded
really
for
done
him,
anything for the Rangers
slapped the
yet.
C on him, and said, "Lead this team to a cup," and that's just not realistic. And it signaled that Chris Kreider was done. Like
Yeah.
if you didn't give him the C after all that, it's like, all right, he's gone. Um,
But
but
like
again, with the
why
Rangers,
did
it was
Adam
just
you could have
one
given it to
bad
Adam
decision
Fox.
after another.
Like
Adam Fox would have been a great pick.
there's a
Vincent
lot of
Trocheck
guys that could have.
would have been a great pick. Like Panarin, no. Like
They could have even waited till November, Give it
yeah,
25, 30 games and see, does somebody grab the brass ring? Is somebody that guy for us? But they just so quickly went after it. I definitely don't think that's as big as how many guys they ran out and how they ran them out of town, but
it's a combination of just
it
a
doesn't help.
bunch of things they did poorly, and you they got to do a retool now. I think it's what they have to do, and I'm very curious to see how they navigate this because again, they're in an awful spot right now.
Yeah.
Like it's truly an awful spot that they're in. So
Do
we'll
you
we'll see what they can pull off.
I'm gonna just double check what it is.
So I got no idea how they're gonna make this all work, but
This is the 25-26 season. He has a 12-team no trade list. Brundy, I'm going to put you on the spot here a bit. Do the Rangers by the end of this season, let's say from now until July 1st, before free agency, does this team trade Vincent Trocheck?
um,
In my opinion, he's the most interesting case because Panarin seems very much likely to be traded, like 90%. Zibanejad's tough with the contract. JT Miller, huge upside, huge potential downside. Captain,
I think
pull no move. Who knows?
Vincent Trocheck, because again, you're not trading Adam Fox and Igor Shesterkin. Those guys are, we're not going to
Nor
talk about
should
them
they.
getting traded.
No.
Out of everybody else, I think Vincent Trocheck holds the most value.
Yeah.
I think I think you're willing to, yeah, I think you can get the most back for Vincent Trocheck. Absolutely.
So he's 32. So it's hard to gauge how long he'll be as good as he is. But Vincent Trocheck has, since coming back from injury, been very good this season.
Hmm.
This team needs to retain 50% on this player and ship him out as soon as they can. And you will get so much back for this guy.
Yeah,
Like,
you
I
can get a
get
lot for him.
I get it. Teams don't like retaining for a long time, but the cap's going up by a decent amount. And even if you retain a full 50%, that's under 3 mil a season because he's making 5.6 mil. So it's only going to cost you less than 3 mil a season for 4 more years. Now somebody is getting Vincent Trocheck for under 3 mil a season. They'd be getting him for what is that? 2.8 per season? That's for 4 years, you get
Yeah,
a sub 3 mil Trocheck. Teams are paying out the ass for that. There's not a competitive team in the world that isn't kicking tires on that deal.
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
like
Yeah,
now,
they like
yeah. So I think that would be huge for any team, and I think that would be huge for the Rangers kickstarting it on this
yeah.
retool.
But we'll keep lots of tabs on them, and maybe we still have our weekly mock trade coming up in this episode, but maybe next week you'll have to have one for next week. Maybe you'll have something for us then surrounding the New York Rangers.
Yeah, I'll look into it and see what I can come up with.
Last bit of news here before we get into our final. Well, this isn't really news, but last bit of stuff before we get into some of our segments to wrap up the episode here. Jack Eichel scoring the overtime winner as the Golden Knights beat the Maple Leafs in Marner's first game against his former team in what was a awesome
Great
game.
game. So good. Yeah, man, you just knew that they were gonna tie it up. You could feel it in the air. It was
Yeah,
like I was like, Toronto is playing great in the final minute. There's no reason to believe that they're not gonna close this out, but like you could just feel the game wasn't gonna end that quickly. You knew we were going
yeah,
extra frames and um pretty brutal non-call by the refs, I'll say. Who was it? Was it Scott Lawton who got interfered with by Aiden Hill
oh, by
with
hell, yeah,
with about 50 seconds left? I get it. I know why they didn't call it. It's in the final minute of a game. The team committing the penalty was down, and it wasn't very close to a scoring opportunity.
yeah.
So I get why the refs literally didn't call it. But also, you're paid to do a goddamn job. Do your fucking job.
Do your job. Yeah,
Like,
I
I
wasn't shocked that they didn't call it a
I would
penalty.
fully
I thought it
expect them
should have
not to
been,
call
but
it, knowing what we know about the league. But
yeah,
at a certain point, it's like integrity of the game, even if it's a more boring finish, just just doesn't feel great. And especially
yeah,
with
oh yeah,
they go the other way, they tie it up, they end up winning in OT.
end up
Just a
winning.
that extra damn, that really sucks, huh? But um
Yeah, I didn't like it. I know a lot of people's initial reaction after the game was over to go to Austin Matthews in overtime and his back check and whatnot, like obviously not being the greatest. Um, and I get people's response to that on first glance, but again, you also do got to look at his ice time,
he
and
was out there for a lot of it.
he played like the final out of the final 5.5 minutes of the third period, he played like 4 minutes of it. Um, he played like the last 2 minutes entirely. He was out there almost the entire overtime because they didn't have William Nylander, and that is an issue for Toronto. That is, if you don't have William Nylander, you've kind of got Matthews and Tavares, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And Tavares, you can only put in certain situations in overtime because again, he is good defensively, he is good offensively,
I'll throw
but
Matty Nyes in there,
his speed is not there.
but
Nyes isn't on the same level as Tavares or Matthews yet. Love Matthew Nyes, but he hasn't reached that level yet.
you don't think current day
You can't
Nyes is
throw
on
it.
the same level as current day Tavares?
No, because you can't throw Matthew Nyes out there with Easton Cowan and say, go win us the game.
Okay.
Is kind of what I'm getting at. Like you kind of need Matthews or Tavares out there to kind of be the guy.
Just
And
be
it'd be
that
nice if you
difference
had
maker in
William
OT. Yeah,
Nylander.
yeah.
Like normally it'd be, it'd be Nylander and then Matthews, and then you've also have Tavares, which is nice. But without Nylander, it makes it tough, especially in
Yeah.
overtime. So again, what's the back check by Matthews? Great, no, but you know, it's
If
like telling
Morgan
someone,
Riley
oh,
doesn't
oh,
miss
you
the
just
net from 10 feet out, he doesn't have to
yeah,
back check that hard.
Yeah, and that's like telling like someone, people complain about it's like, okay, go run a marathon, finish the marathon, and then go immediately line up and do a 100-meter sprint and don't be lazy. Like it's tough when you're out there constantly against a good team like Vegas. Well, yeah, it's still a good team, not a great team because win some games in regulation. Um, but I can't fault Austin Matthews on that one because
They
just gassed by the end of the game.
And that's a lot of games too. I think people love to
Yeah,
point towards him in overtimes and stuff because he often doesn't look great. Man, does this team lean on him? And
yeah,
it's got to be so much worse without Marner too now,
yeah,
because Marner also could score with the best of them and defend great. But that's really how they use Matthews. They are not. They need a goal. Matthews, you're up. We need to defend. Matthews, you're up. We need a face-off win. Matthews, you're up. Like, dude,
yeah.
they use him for every
Everything,
situation, which
everything.
you love to be able to do, but if you don't have the supporting cast to take some of the pressure off, you're going to run that guy into the ground. And maybe
Yeah,
that's why we've seen the amount of injuries we have in Austin Matthews as well. Like,
a
he
lot of
has to
wear and
do a
tear.
lot out
Absolutely,
there.
100%.
Uh
Um,
lot of I mean, they're a very well traveled team. They're probably, I'd say, the biggest fan base in the league, if not top 3 minimum. But a lot of Toronto fans in Vegas, to the point where the very first time Marner touched the puck, there was
there was some
very
booze.
audible boos
Yeah,
in the arena in Vegas, which is a little bit
makes you wonder
interesting.
how loud the boys are going to be when Marner's back in Toronto for the first time.
Yeah,
That'll be next level.
yeah,
Be
and I
next
don't think
level.
it's too long till that game either. I'm pretty sure it's fairly soon. I could check here, but I think it's before the break.
Oh, really? I thought it was after the break. I'll let you. I'll let you figure that out for us. But yeah, that really was overall just an incredible game between two very good teams, and a lot of the big dogs showing up
Uh,
in that game on both sides as well.
1 week. It
1
is
week, there
on
we go.
Friday, January 23rd in Toronto.
There
So
we go. So we'll be able to discuss that
they should have scheduled that
sometime next
game
week. So
earlier. They should have had that shit in October, November, while it's still more fresh.
yeah, yeah. Instead of the first meeting being in Vegas, and then yeah, it should have been his first game against Toronto. Should have been back in Toronto. Uh,
But
absolutely.
it's still going to be a good watch, especially if the pace of game is similar to this one. Because, like we said, that was a fun ass game to watch. We were both watching it, and that was good.
Yeah, that was just a great back and forth hockey game. All right, we can start to move on into some of our closing segments here to wrap up the episode. This one shouldn't take too long, but again, it comes down to Braden, not me. Um, we're gonna do a one-word go. So I'm just gonna go division by division, list off every team, and just because we're a little bit over the halfway mark of the season, and I just want you to give me one word to sum up where the team is at so far this season, whether that's good, bad, whatever it may be. Just give me your thoughts on the team season in one word.
Okay. On the season as a whole, not currently.
Yeah, season as a whole. Yeah, for each
Okay.
each team.
Okay.
Or I mean, you could do over the past week or whatever you want. Whatever you want to summarize the team
Okay.
in one word at this point. It's
Vibes.
totally up to you. We'll start out west and we'll move out to the east. We'll start in the Pacific. The Vegas Golden Knights,
Lucky.
Edmonton Oilers,
Struggling?
Seattle Kraken,
Don't know.
Grubauer, San Jose Sharks,
Fun.
the LA Kings,
Unfun.
Anaheim Ducks,
Uh, Exciting
Calgary
for their good young
Flames,
team. Sellers?
Vancouver Canucks.
Sad.
All right, move over to the Central. The Colorado Avalanche.
Unbeatable.
Wagon. Absolutely.
Wagon.
The Dallas Stars.
Second.
Speaking of the Dallas Stars, you see Jamie Benn rocked a visor for one game and then tossed it.
I saw that he had a visor. I didn't know that he got rid of it afterwards. I thought he
Yeah,
turned over new leaf and was like,
that's what
"Dude,
I
new
thought.
visors are sick."
And he's like, "Ah, fuck it,
Dude,
sucks."
after like being a guy without a visor for so long, he should have came in with like a crazy tinted visor. Like he should have shown up looking like a madman.
That would have been cool. Minnesota Wild.
Ballsy.
Utah Mammoth.
Good.
Nashville Predators.
Directionless.
Chicago Blackhawks.
Bedard.
St. Louis Blues.
Rebuilding.
Winnipeg Jets.
Atrocious.
Moving to the
Ooh.
Metro Division, the Carolina Hurricanes.
Buying. Again.
The New York Islanders.
Surprising. They've shocked me how good they are.
The Pittsburgh Penguins.
I'll say also shocking. They've also surprised me at how good they are.
Washington Capitals.
Dark horse. Dark horse could be one word.
Yep. Philadelphia Flyers.
I'll go exciting for them as well.
New Jersey Devils.
Disappointing.
Columbus Blue Jackets.
I'll also go disappointing. I thought they'd be better.
New York Rangers.
Dumpster.
The Atlantic Division, last division here. The Tampa Bay Lightning.
Gutsy.
The Detroit Red Wings.
It feels weird to describe a team as this, but I'll say passionate.
Okay. The Montreal Canadiens.
Good. They look really good.
Buffalo Sabres.
Playoffs.
Boston Bruins.
Keeping up. They're still in it.
The Toronto Maple Leafs. A lot of different ways you could go for Toronto.
A lot of different ways. Goaltending. Whether good or bad, Panthers. I think that's a lot of their story.
Yeah. Florida Panthers.
Dirty.
Oh, they're going to say bullies. And
I was going to say dirty, or I was going to say champion, and I didn't want to say the positive one.
Fair. And lastly, the Ottawa Senators.
Bipolar. They are hot, and then they are cold.
All right, I can get on board with that.
The amount of times I've looked at their record, and I'm like, oh, they're on a 5-game winning streak. And check a week later. Oh, they're on a 4-game losing streak. I thought they were doing good. Check again a couple days later. Oh, they've won 3 in a row. They're doing like
just so up and down. All That's Ottawa though.
It's got to be weird being a fan of that, watching it week in week out.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, that means it is time for everyone's favorite time of the
That's
week,
a good
the
idea. I like that.
weekly mock trade. Hey, I'm glad you like that. The weekly mock trade. We didn't do it in Tuesday's episode as we usually do, but that was already a long enough one, so we thought, hey, we'll save it
Yeah.
till Fun Friday here. I've got a mock trade here. It's not a very big one, but I think it's a very impactful one that I
Okay.
think makes sense for both sides involved. So, Braden, are you ready?
I am ready.
And again, these are our mock trades we make up, but again, they do have to be ones that we could realistically see happen, and they have to at least make sense.
Yeah.
Those are only the only guidelines we have for it, and I think this fits right in within them. So the St. Louis Blues trade Jordan Kyrou. I know you're a
Okay.
big Jordan Kyrou fan. To the Columbus Blue Jackets,
Ooh.
team we've been talking about that needs to potentially make a move, make something happen. So Jordan Kyrou going to Columbus in exchange for Kent Johnson and a 2026 second round pick. But that 2026 second round pick belongs to the St. Louis Blues.
To the St.
So
Louis
the Blues
Blues.
get their second round pick back. They get Kent Johnson in exchange for Jordan Kyrou.
Okay.
I was thinking about potentially
Interesting.
adding more, but then I thought, you know what? If St. Louis is getting their second round pick back and they're actively kind of starting to go more in that retool, it will be a very early on second round pick, probably between, it'll probably be in the top 40.
Yeah.
So it's actually a pretty good pick. And then yes, you get a young player in Kent Johnson that has kind of struggled a bit at times and maybe just needs a change of scenery. So, and then obviously for Columbus, I mean that's a huge upgrade in getting a guy like Jordan Kyrou into your top six when
Yeah.
you need I think you need another guy in that top six to really help spark some offense there. So that is the weekly mock trade. What are your thoughts?
It's simple. I like it. There's not a ton of moving parts. It's good player for a good, potentially great player. There's a pick attached to it. I was thinking the other day about like some types of players, like they have all these young guys that they're looking to potentially move in St. Louis because they kind of need to retool. It's not working out for them, but they already have younger guys, so it's kind of just transitioning from 27-year-olds to 21 and 22-year-olds. But
Yeah,
I kind of like it for both sides. I mean, I think Kent Johnson has a higher ceiling, but Kairu's been
yeah.
Jordan Kyrou for 3-4 years now. Kent Johnson, we've seen flashes of it, but especially this year, really hasn't had it. So
And can Jordan or can Kent Johnson reach his ceiling in Columbus?
that too, like
Tough to say.
what?
People say, "Oh, he was so good last year," but again, yeah, he was good last year. But like I said earlier this week, his numbers last year were never sustainable at that rate. No player is ever going to play their entire career and be above a 20% shooting percentage. Like that just doesn't happen.
No, but I will say he had more assists than he had goals last year as well. So
Yeah,
I could see his points staying relatively high.
but Ken Johnson will
Also, just
always
if he'd shoot
be
more.
a player that will put up more assists and goals. I think though he's naturally
Yeah. Oh,
a
100%.
playmaker style guy, and that's something that could definitely fit into St. Louis as well.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
his
it
game
would.
would translate very nicely there.
Well, especially, a guy like, if they have Kent Johnson, if he can be that playmaker that they really want, him playing with Robert Thomas, now all you need to do is find a guy who can shoot the freaking puck, and that guy
Yeah,
is gonna bury the hell out of it. Maybe that's a Jake Neighbors. Maybe Jake
yeah,
Neighbors is on your first line with Thomas and Johnson, and he's just burying everything he touches. Maybe that means Robert Thomas becomes a bit more of a prolific goal scorer.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I I don't hate the idea. They also obviously they're getting their second round pick back. It would be this year's pick, so it would just mostly before the pick. I think that would mean there's not really an opportunity to use that for an offer sheet. But
Yeah, yeah, that is
even
true.
still, I think, you're getting back, yeah, a top 40 pick. You're getting a good player. You're moving out Kairu, who he has a no trade clause. So I'd be interested to know if he would waive that to go to Columbus. But assuming he would, I kind of like it for both sides because it's a
And
bit more of a,
it's not an overly complicated one, which kind of makes it like, well, is it a fair deal? Because usually
yeah,
the involving big players now, it always has to be all these moving parts. But like sometimes it can be as simple as something like this potentially.
it's kind of two changes of scenery, but one guy's a track record. So there's a second rounder on the other side
Yeah.
coming back. I I do this if I'm St. Louis. I think there's enough upside there between the pick and Johnson that I would do this. I think I would also do it if I'm Columbus. I think I like it enough for both sides. I'm a little more worried on their
I'm
side
That's
you're
exactly how I felt with it. Yeah.
just because you're only 1 year removed from 57 points from Kent Johnson, and that's only in 68 games as well. He missed 14 games last year. So
Yeah.
if he plays all 82, that's a 70-point season.
Yeah.
And
And that
he's
was kind
only
of
he's only
my
23.
original thought with it is like you can, you know, continue to ride up. But then I'm also thinking like, you know what, if you're Columbus at this point, you gotta fucking win.
Yeah,
You don't need the top picks anymore. You do still have Cade Lindstrom in the system who's going to be coming up and is going to be great. Like you've got your pieces, and you're now in
your
that
Fantillis
time
and
to like it's go and win now. You can't
it's
wait and push it back another year because every year you push it back more and more. It's Zach Werenski getting older, and Zach Werenski is kind of the timeline of this team.
yeah.
It feels like it's when Zach Werenski isn't a top three defenseman in the league anymore. The Columbus Blue Jackets are going to start to fall,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah,
it's
and
win now.
I think I would say for sure yes on both sides a week ago. But now that they've got Dean Evison out of there, they brought in their new coach
Bones,
in
Rick Bonus,
Rick Bowness. Um, I think now I would at least assuming we're
wait
talking
it
about
out a
making the
little
trade
bit.
right now, I would want Columbus to wait a little bit and see how Johnson does under the new
Yeah,
coach.
well, yeah, and it
Um,
doesn't have to be a deal right now. Like it can be a deadline deal, but like
exactly.
more than just something that will happen like this season potentially that could make sense
Exactly. If
before the
he
deadline. Yeah,
is pretty close to what his pace has been all year from now until the deadline, I would do this at the deadline if I'm Columbus, assuming they're
yeah,
within shooting distance of the playoffs.
hmm
Um, but, if he from now to the trade deadline is, you know, doubles his production so far, which is like a quarter point per game or something on the season,
yeah,
like if he's half a point per game in the small portion with the new coach, then I would probably hold off and be like, all right, he clearly improved. Let's give him an off season with the new coach and see what happens.
yeah.
He had a goal and an assist last night actually against Vancouver. Um, so I'd specifically because of the coaching change, I would wait on it from Columbus's
Wait on
side.
it
But
for sure. Yeah,
if
absolutely.
you brought this up literally like a week ago, I think I'd be saying yes on both sides.
Be slamming the yes button.
And I still
Alrighty.
think it's very close. I really like that one.
Alrighty, well, there was the weekly mock trade. Again, Braden, it is your turn next week, so I look forward to whatever you have cooked up for then. But we can move on into the final segment here now. We always like to wrap things up with a fun little game, and
Yes,
today
sir.
we have what I call this shit.
What do
What
you
was this
call it?
shit again? Odds matcher. So, for those who are new
Okay.
here, again, odds matcher. We are doing today. We are doing the what's it called? Jack Adams. Jack
Okay,
Adams
good.
Trophy
I
for
thought you were gonna
Coach
make me guess the
of.
Vesna
No.
because fuck if I
No, no,
know.
no, not the Vesna. It is the Jack Adams Coach of the Year. So pretty simple. I'll give you five coaches. I'll give you 5 odds to win the Jack Adams, and you just have to figure out who goes where. And I am not including Jared Bednar, who is the favorite at plus 105. I feel like that was just kind
Okay.
of a gimme, so I figured we're
There
not going
yeah.
to include him there.
Okay. I like
Are you
that.
ready for your 5 coaches?
Yes.
We've got Joe Quenneville, Lindy Ruff, Todd McClellan, Ryan Warsofsky, and John Cooper
Okay.
are your 5 coaches. And the odds in no particular order: plus 650, plus 1800,
1800.
plus 1100, plus 1200, and
That's
plus
gonna be tough.
550.
So we got 550 and 650 right beside each other. We got 1100 and 1200 beside each other. And then some bum is up there at 1800.
1800.
I won't say he's a bum. There's a chance it's Coop. Uh, John Cooper, coach of the Lightning. Warsofsky, coach of the Sharks. Quenneville, Ducks. Ruff, Sabres. McClellan, Red Wings.
Correct,
Okay.
sir. 5 for 5 so far.
All right. Warsofsky, how much credit did they give him for Celebrini carrying the team to the playoffs? If they make the playoffs, like, he could be in that conversation, but, like, should he even be? Is there a coach in the world that could have stunted this kid? Quenneville, I don't even know where the Ducks
Rangers
are.
would have found a way.
Yeah, that's a scary
Celebrini
thought.
be a 4th line grinder right now.
Yeah, actually, he'd be working on his stick checking every practice.
Yeah.
Uh, this is actually really tough
Yeah, right. That's
because
why I ended up going with this one, because I was like, fuck, it's
there's a
actually.
lot of. I love that you threw Cooper in there too because he could be the 550, he could be the 1800. I really, it's so hard to tell. Like he's getting to the point where I don't doubt that there's some guys wanting to start give him that kind of lifetime award, right?
Mhm.
Like people have been saying he's one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the league for 5 years, but he's never had a Jack Adams because it's kind of that
Yeah.
overachieving coach award. Um, I don't love what Lindy Ruff's done in Buffalo, but I mean, if they make the playoffs, like, why not? McClellan, I mean, Detroit's pretty high up in the standings. They have a ton of points, but their plus minus on the season's also like +3 right now. So it's not like they're beating the crap out of their opponents. None of them stand out as the favorite or like the lowest down at 1800. Like, I'm not even sure where to
Yeah.
begin with this.
Just start somewhere. We'll see. We'll see how you go.
Yeah, got to start somewhere. I think where are the Ducks in the standings? The Ducks are still in the playoffs, probably,
They
right?
no.
I was gonna say
I
they've
think they're
lost
like
quite a few games.
2 or 3 points out of a playoff spot now, because they went like 8 or 8-1 or something in their last 9 at one point.
Yeah, I think they had a not 8 or 9 game losing streak.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put McClellan at 1800. I think a lot of the voters would want to give it to Coop more than McClellan, and then I think him getting his team back into the playoffs is less impressive than the Sabres, Sharks, or Ducks doing it.
Okay.
I kind of want to go Quenneville in that spot, but I know he was one of the favorites going into the season, so I'm assuming that
Mhm.
brings it down a bit. So I'm going to say McClellan has the worst odds there at 1800. I'm going to
Okay.
go with I'm going to go with Ruff at 1100. So he'll be right in the middle.
Okay.
And I'll go Quenville at 1200. I think Quenville's still in the conversation,
Okay,
but I
so
think
list it
they're
off
outside the
from
vote.
top to bottom. What are you going with?
So least likely McClellan, second least likely Quenville, right in the middle Lindy Ruff.
Okay.
I think Ruff gets a bit higher because I mean
And then what are you doing with Cooper and Warsawski?
I think like it's crazy. Both of those guys I could see at any of these five.
You just got to
I'm gonna
trust your
go.
gut here.
I'm gonna go with Warsawski 650, Cooper 550. Just because
Okay.
I think lifetime achievement, they're going to want to give it to Coop a bit more. And I don't think people are giving Warsawski the credit for a lot of the success the Sharks are having. I think it's more the standout players are getting
Okay.
that.
So you're going Cooper plus 550, Warsawski plus 650, Lindy Ruff plus 1100, Quenville plus 1200, and then Todd McClellan plus 1800.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You got one right.
Honestly, I'll take one. Like I don't even
And
know
you
where to
know
be.
which one you got right.
I don't. Like it could be the exact opposite order.
You
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 know,
you
the
have
exact
John
opposite
Cooper
order.
right at plus
Okay.
550.
Okay.
You
Tampa
do have
does have
John
the
Cooper right there. Yeah.
second best plus minus in the league. I believe they're tied for second or third right now. Um,
But I will give you do get a second chance here to
okay,
try
so
and
Coop
crack
was
the
the
code
top
here.
one. So Warsawski's not there.
Warsawski's not the plus 650. No.
So all of the other ones were wrong. So I didn't have a single one right there.
Yeah,
So
no, they were all wrong. So you got to move them all around.
I'm just gonna take 550 and Coop off my list here. Cut down on that. I the best one I felt out of all of them was McClellan being last because I don't think he's the reason that they're up there. But I mean, let's go. You know what? Tampa has been on a big winning streak, and Coop is up there. Buffalo has been on a crazy hot streak as well recently. They're in the playoffs right now. I'm going to assume that people are riding the hot hand. I'll say Lindy Ruff 650,
Okay. Lindy Ruff 650.
and then we'll go McClellan 1100. Different line of thinking. They are the
Hmm.
most likely of the teams to make the playoffs.
Okay.
I'll put him at 1100. I'll go Quenville 1200 because he was still fairly high up from the preseason rankings, and Warsawski 1800 because he got carried by Celebrini.
So you're going Ruff 650, McClellan plus 1100, Quenville plus 1200, and Warsawski plus 1800.
Do I need to swap McClellan and Ruff? I'm going to swap
Well,
McClellan and Ruff.
well, you had two right. Now you have one right.
Oh, all right. What are the rankings?
Lindy Ruff was the plus 650.
Okay,
Warsawski was the plus 1800. Because Sharks are in a playoff
okay,
spot, but I think their goal differential is still like minus 20 or something. It's not good. Joel Quenville is the plus 1100, and Tom McClellan is plus 1200.
okay.
And then it's a pretty big drop off
That
after that,
makes sense.
down all the way down to Dan Muse.
Okay, so
So,
those are all of those the top? Those are five of the top six.
yeah.
Okay,
Our pick to start the season and one of the favorites going to the season, Henri Turney, plus 8,000 now.
yikes.
You
I
know
I
who's ahead of
almost
him
went.
already? Rick Bonus is already ahead of him.
I mean, he came in and the vibes got a lot better.
Vibes
I-
did get a
If
lot better.
if you get a new coach and go from last in the East to making the playoffs, it's a pretty good argument. We'll say
Absolutely,
that.
yeah.
Um, I almost went with Quenville in our preseason rankings. I almost did, but I was pretty high on the Mammoth, and I thought they'd be doing a little bit better. But I mean,
And we
I'm
are all high on the Mammoth.
and frankly, they're not even a bad team. It's just
No, they're not.
look at the Central, like they're in a war zone.
Yeah, it is a tough spot for them. But that is it for this episode. We are at the end. We do want to thank everybody for tuning in once again. If you want to talk hockey, be sure to let us know or reach out to us through any of our socials. The links to all of them are down below, as well as the comments over on YouTube as well. Braden, it is that time. As always, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I'm going to make this about myself because, of course, I am. The Tampa Bay Lightning are currently on an 11-game win streak, tying their franchise record. They play. I guess it's actually Friday now, so I believe they play later tonight against the St. Louis Blues, one of the lowest teams in the league. But I believe the Blues also just recently I think they shut out and beat the
Carolina.
Hurricanes as well. So they can beat top teams. So that's going to be a fun watch later on. We'll see if Tampa creates a new franchise record. Also, partway through this recording, I got a text from my wife. Apparently, we called up an AHL goalie on Tampa as well.
Hey,
So hopefully, he's covering the backup and not Vasi, because we're going for
yeah,
12, and that would suck to have to run the AHL guy. But
absolutely.
we'll see how that goes. We'll see how the Trocheck, Pettersson, Andersson sweepstakes go. We'll see how Marner plays when he gets back to Toronto. There's a lot of stuff to look forward to in the coming weeks in the NHL.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is it for this episode. One final time. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all have a good weekend. And as always, we will see all of you lovely people out on the ice next week.